Don't spend loads of money on a camera that you don't need. Early Fujifilm X-T1s, 2s and 3s are now very affordable, and in this episode I'm going to talk about them, I'm going to compare them and the various features, and I'm going to show you how to find a good one. Why buy a camera costing thousands when you could buy one costing only hundreds? Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you for once again checking in. I've shot loads of mirrorless cameras, mostly for the channel, some of them mirrorless, some of them not, and I've enjoyed almost all of them. But I've got to say, particular favourites, recurring firm favourites of mine are the Fujifilm X-T cameras, and I've got my Fujifilm X-T3 here. They're a little bit special, at least to me. They're made to reproduce the feel of, as far as you can anyway when shooting digital, to reproduce the feel of shooting an old film camera. And they've got these dials along the top here. So we've got exposure comp, shutter speed, ISO, and you'll see that if we compare it to this old Nikon FE film camera, you'll see that there really is a certain similarity of design going on there. So these are made to reproduce that special feel that those of us who know and love film cameras really appreciate. They do have a special sensor, unlike any of the other sensors in the digital camera industry. Most digital cameras have Bayer sensors. The X cameras, all the Fuji X cameras, have the Fujifilm X-Trans sensor, where the pixel distribution is rather more random than in a Bayer sensor. It's not actually random, but it gives the impression of randomness. So it's more in accord with the grain you'll get on a piece of film, which is truly random. So the whole aim of these cameras is to produce something that is film-like. Don't spend loads of money on a camera that you don't need. Early Fujifilm X-T1s, 2s and 3s are now very affordable, and in this episode I'm going to talk about them, I'm going to compare them and the various features, and I'm going to show you how to find a good one. Why buy a camera costing thousands when you could buy one costing only hundreds? So by the principles of mathematics, I intend to go in numerical order, and we'll begin with the X-T1, which confusingly has the X-Trans 2 sensor. Now that is a sensor that creates truly fantastic images. I can't communicate how nice these images are. There is just something special about them. If you'll forgive the expression, they have got the X factor, absolutely no doubt about it. I was absolutely blown away by the kind of images this sensor can make. They're unlike those from any other digital camera. They're not quite the same as those from a film camera, of course, but they do have their own unique signature, and they do have this extraordinary beauty that I've not seen from any other sensor, be it full frame, micro four thirds, or any point betwixt and between. Guaranteed, the X-T1 will make you some stunning images. It also has built-in film simulations, which I really love. My favourite is classic chrome, but there's also Velvia and a couple of black and whites thrown in there. And you can cook more. You can adjust the settings, and I've done a video on this, I think about a year ago. You can adjust the settings to produce likenesses, very accurate likenesses of old film stocks of the past. So that's a really, really cool feature. It's a little bit flawed because there's one element you can't store, but check out my video on doing on cooking Fujifilm recipes to find out more. It's a 16 megapixel sensor, so by today's standards, that is not huge resolution, but I'm not sure that Fuji have made a nicer sensor. If you think they have, please do tell me in the comments box, but for me, I'd be hard pushed to find nicer images than these. It's the smallest XT camera, so that is good. I think perhaps apart from the brand new 40 megapixel XT5, which has now reduced its dimensions back to those of the original XT1, which I think can only be a good thing. But the XT1 is a nice small camera, so that's a good thing. It's portable, it's relatively light, it's not a huge, great clonking thing. You can carry it around with you all day and not feel too worn out or aggrieved. There is an issue with the body covering on the XT1. Sometimes it can start to peel off. It can be repaired and replaced, but be aware when buying one and make sure you get one without that body covering issue if you don't want to have to address it and fix it up, because it's not a particularly easy thing to fix up and get right exactly as they did at the factory. So watch for that. Buy a good one would be my suggestion. The video isn't great. I mean, it does have video and it's of reasonable quality, but when you compare it to the video from more modern cameras, it's really not great. It does make fantastic stills images though, with either vintage lenses or modern. Personally, I think this sensor suits vintage lenses rather better than it does modern lenses, but that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. All in all, I think this camera is an absolute bargain at £250 to £300. Find a good one and you are set, as long as you don't want to do any prolonged bouts of video. You're not a video shooter, you're primarily a still shooter. This is a real bargain. So sticking with those principles of mathematics which I defined at the outset, we're going to look at the XT2 next, which confusingly has the X-Trans 3 sensor. That's a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. So it's going to give you some more detail. It's got a lot higher resolution. You can crop more if you're a photographer who likes to crop quite a lot. You can crop with this camera, with images from this camera. It has an across film simulation, which the earlier XT1 doesn't, and it can create more film simulations than the XT1 can. So that's really nice as well. Now, I had one of these cameras for a couple of years and I really liked it. However, I don't think the images are quite as nice as those from that X-Trans 2 sensor of the XT1. They are very, very nice. I mean, these are really nice images. They're unique and beautiful images, but I don't think they're quite as nice. Maybe it's something to do with the extra resolution. Maybe it's a little softness that has been lost. But are these images quite as nice from those as those from the XT1? I don't know. I don't think they are. You tell me what you think in the comments box below. Please check out the images and let me know. It's certainly not a worse camera. They're certainly not worse images than the XT1 anyway. And as I say, they are very unique, very beautiful. It's a little bit bigger, and that's not a great thing for me. I don't like to see cameras get bigger, but it does have better video capability, although it will only do you a 15-minute clip of 1080 HD. So honestly, I think its video capability, I was a bit disappointed by that 15-minute clip because I did want to use it a lot for video. So I think it's been a bit hobbled for video, actually, to be truthful. I did have one for a year. I did love it, but I don't think that the images from this sensor are quite as nice as those from the XT1 sensor, that is the X-Trans 2, although they are lovely. Anyway, it's a very, very nice camera, and it's yours for around about £400. So that is a real bargain. So next up then we have the XT3, which is the only one of these cameras I have physically present. And I bought this camera, gosh, what, about a year ago. It's got my Carl Zeiss Jena 35mm Flectagon 2.4 on it, and it really loves this lens. This camera and this lens can do some really nice work together. In the XT3, we have yet another new sensor, the X-Trans 4 sensor, with increased resolution from 24 to 26 megapixels. It's still APS-C, so no full frame. There's no real increase in size on the body between the XT2, and it does have far better video capabilities. This camera will record a 1080 clip for half an hour, for 30 minutes, maximum of 30 minutes. It will do 4K as well, although as I was a bit disappointed to find out it will only do a 10-minute clip of 4K, but then I guess that's something. And it does have the Eterna film profile, which is a very flat film profile. If you're a videographer, you can use that for grading, shoot it very flat, and then add all the flavour and colour and everything else in post. Now, all right, let's talk about stills. I was a bit disappointed with the stills from this camera. They're unique, they're beautiful, they're very, very nice. And, you know, the whole camera, the whole ethos behind the sensor and the images is similar, but the images do have a different feel and a different flavour. There's a bigger difference between the images from the XT3 and the XT2. There's a bigger difference between those images than there is in the images between the XT1 and the XT2, if you see what I mean. This is a different feel, a different flavour of image, although it has the same approach. It's still got film sims, it still uses an X-Trans sensor, it's still got, you know, exactly the same approach, but it just seems to have lost something. I don't know what it is, it's very hard to put my finger on it, but I don't like the images that come out of this camera as much as I liked the images that come out of the XT2, and I don't like the images that come out of the XT2 quite as much as I like the images that come out of the XT1, although there the difference is not so great. As I say, it's got film sims built in, and you can cook your own. You can cook a few more than on the XT2, but again, I was disappointed to discover that you can't actually cook that many more than on the XT2, and that was quite a disappointment for me. I do like playing around with film sims. The XT4 can do loads and loads and loads of different simulations, but the XT3 does seem a little bit limited in that respect compared to its predecessor, the XT2. I expected it to have rather more capability in that direction. Will I sell this camera? Will I keep this camera? I don't know. It's nice. It's the only Fujifilm camera I've got for now. But there is a difference between the images you get from here and the images you get from the XT1. Nevertheless, a very beautiful camera, a camera that produces very stunning images, and a camera that I really love shooting. You know, I pick this camera up whenever I can. This is not a Fujifilm camera that I regard as second or third rate or anything of that sort. It's just that those images from that XT1 was just so nice that all the other X-Trans sensors seem to pale slightly in comparison. But still, a beautiful camera, makes beautiful images, and a real bargain at 600 to 700 quid. So, which is the best? Well, if you don't shoot much video, if you're mainly a stills photographer, clearly the XT1 is the clear winner, is obviously the one to go for because it makes the nicest images. It's slightly smaller as well, so that's a bonus. But that X-Trans 2 sensor, my goodness, those images are hard to beat. These are all nice cameras, but in my opinion, if you're a stills photographer, the XT1 is a no-brainer. And in fact, between you and me, I often wish I'd kept mine. However, I am more than happy with my XT3. I'm going to carry on shooting this camera for some time to come, until maybe one day in the future, maybe I'll get an XT1 again, or maybe I'll save up my pennies and get an XT4 and sell this one. Who knows? All of them are bargain mirrorless cameras. All of them will make you beautiful images, and all of them are unique in their images and in the way that they operate with all these dials and the sort of old school approach. So very, very nice cameras, bargains, all three. Right, well, I guess that's it from me for now. Many, many thanks to subscribers for your subscriptions. I do appreciate that. And many, many thanks to patrons for your support. I do appreciate that very much. We couldn't do on this channel what we do if it wasn't for that support. Please, if you've enjoyed this episode, you might consider becoming a patron yourself over at www.patreon.com/Zenography. If you've enjoyed the episode, ring the bell, do all the YouTubey type things that I can't remember now. Click the bell, like and subscribe. That was it. And that's what everybody says. So please do all those things. Thank you very, very much for watching my humble presentation. And I will see you next time for some more Zenography. Cheerio.